Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Sagittarius energy. So we are going to put out the cards, kind of get this story, and kind of see how, all the cards have more of a high vibe representation to them or a more worldly, shadowy aspect to them. And we as human beings have our dualistic nature, and Sagittarius is about higher learning and education. And we've all got some lessons to learn. And, Sagittarius is fire sign energy too, which can talk about what we're motivated and inspired by. And some people are kind of motivated and inspired to kind of grow and heal and mature themselves. Some people aren't. And, we just need to see the truth of it. And if we've kind of learned some lessons and tempered our ego nature to work together with people in a higher level of, like, say, than when we were 8 or when we were 15 or when we were 18, we've learned some lessons in life. And we're not conducting ourselves and have no interest in conducting ourselves in some more immature or shadowy or petty or bossy or whatever kind of shadowy ways of being. And then we could get in friendship or relationship with some people, but we see they still kind of view certain ways of conducting or behaving themselves as like just and fair, just like we did at one point in time, probably when we could have acted more like that. And it's just can be pretty shocking, right? And it's just like, whoa. Yeah, wow, I just feel like I took a time travel. Like I might be 45, but I feel like I'm hanging out with some people who are also like 40, 45, for example, but they're kind of acting and behaving like much more immature people, kind of in their thinking, their logic, their reasoning. Um, that just makes you realize, yeah, no, I don't want to go back to that phase of living life. If that's how you're still living life, yeah, I don't want anything to do with it. So, um, so some people are in more shadowy energy. I'm sure it'll come out in the reading. Kind of interesting here at the end of the story. We have a lot of cards not showing itself. And another one not showing itself. And the reason is because of the devil. So the way I interpret, and at the end of the story, the Seven of Swords, which can be about deception and manipulation. So at any given time, we're living our life. There's always going to be people in the world who are more high vibrational and people who are a little more shadowy. And hopefully during our life experience is what High Vibe Seven of Swords talks about, that we listen to our intuition. The devil can represent that there's things in people we're attracted to. It tempts us in our more worldly nature. But to listen to our intuition, who is trying to tempt us in our more worldly egoic nature, our fear, our insecurity, our lust, our greed, our codependent nature, who is being kind of manipulative or hurtful or unkind. The Seven of Swords can talk about how we kind of don't want to see the truth because some of the people we already know, and they could be our adult child, our brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, neighbor, coworker, and they could be doing something that we don't want to see the truth, that they're more shadowy than, because it can just be hard to accept the truth that some people really either aren't who we thought they were, or they changed. And if at one time they were more just or fair or loving, kind of going down the road of life, we kind of drive our life off into the ditch. And kind of when we've driven our life off into the ditch, we're not the same person we were when we were kind of maintaining balance within ourselves and weren't kind of being more manipulated by something, right? So it can be hard. But let's go see what is going on in Sagittarius energy. We have the Queen of Wands, the Eight of Swords, and the Page of Cups. And the reason these cards came out is because of the King of Pentacles and the Strength card. So, in our more worldly, egoic nature, I view the Queen of Wands and the Strength card as Leo energy, and Leo energy can kind of represent, what is our truth and what are we going to invest in? Are we going to invest kind of in indulging our more emotionally immature nature, maybe live more from our mind than our heart, not listen to our intuition, be more manipulated by our fear, our insecurity, our lust, our greed, our pride, our ego? We have the free will to do that, and some people will do that. Other people have already had enough life experience. They've been illuminated to the truth. That's kind of like high vibe Leo energy and high vibe King of Pentacles. That if I invest in my more egoic nature or invest in other people who my intuition tells me they're kind of more shadowy, manipulative, prideful, full of themselves, more driven and motivated to get in relationships and want to stay in relationships, more maybe for the ego or the image or the indulgence of it or the status or whatever, but not really inspired by truth and love. Those people are going to kind of be maybe a little bit of a standoff, because the Eight of Swords is Gemini energy about our free will, dualistic nature, and everybody in their free will can either choose, nope, I'm more about me, more about these things, more about my defensive nature, more about the world, more about my immature nature, whatever. And other people can be more authentic and just and fair and loving and encouraging. And I think sometimes shadowy people, they've kind of rejected their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and they might have, for some reason of things that they went through in their life, they could have decided, no, I can only be manipulated if I'm like that. And so they decided not to be more hopeful and believing and authentic and loving. But if there's going to be people who are hopeful and believing and loving who are going to be manipulated, they might as well manipulate them. Someone's going to do it. It might as well be them. And because they reject it within themselves, that makes me vulnerable. They think it makes them weak. Other people think it makes them strong. And the people who think, no, that just makes me vulnerable and weak to be more hopeful and believing and loving and authentic, that puts me at risk of being hurt and being manipulated, those people are going to have some lessons to learn in life that some other people have already learned. It can make you vulnerable to being hurt, but the other choice is to live more from your mind than your heart and let the fear or your ego manipulate you. And some people learn lessons in life. They learn to invest in themselves, stand up for themselves, and to listen to their intuition and get better about who they invest their time, energy, and effort into. Other people have been hurt by people before also. Some of those people gave up on love. Other people weren't willing to give up on love. I'm just going to learn the lesson I was meant to learn about the shadowy people in my life. I'm going to deal with the truth of it. Okay, you're more bossy, you're more controlling, you're more full of yourself, you're more manipulative, you're more immature, you're more about this and this and this and this. I've been illuminated to the truth about people like that. And now as I move forward and I get to know people, and the Page of Cups is like making these offers to get to know people, I am going to listen to my intuition about who's who. And if people show me they're more shadowy, they stay in the friend zone and they're just someone I know and a social acquaintance, and I don't invest in them. Ah, you kind of learn who are the shadowy people in the world, and the other people just gave up. What they don't realize, when you're not taking action more out of being just and fair and truthful and authentic and loving, you're wearing like a false mask, is what the kings can kind of represent. Trying to present yourself as that you're something that you're not, because they know if they probably acted as shadowy as they really are, or as defensive as they are, or manipulative, or egoic, or self centered, or immature as they are, other people wouldn't get in a relationship with them. And they could definitely enjoy being in relationships, so they want to be in relationships. What they don't see coming is the more high vibrational people in their life, they're unwilling to work to see the truth that those people aren't like some people in their life that manipulated and controlled them or hurt them. And the more high vibrational people in their life are going to keep their distance. And out of their own fear and insecurities and shadowy ways and bossy ways or manipulative or immature ways, the people who they're going to have more surrounding them to be in a relationship are other people just like them who are also not being truthful and honest and authentic. Because when they had truthful, honest, and authentic people in their life, they would have had to invest time and energy and effort to work through their fears and insecurities of being in a relationship with someone like that. And they chose to like turn their back on it. Nope, not going to do that. I don't have to. It's like, no, you don't have to. But the more high vibe people are going to leave your life. And there'll be other people who come in your life. And strangely, the people that they'll kind of put more work and effort into might be people who don't require them to be more authentic, more mature, more loving, more tempered in their ego. Why? Because those people aren't either. They're that same way. I'm certainly not maybe going to require someone else to grow up and heal and mature themselves if I'm not willing to grow up and heal and mature myself. So they end up kind of getting in relationships with people who are shadowy like them. That's just, but I think shadowy people think, no, no, no. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone like me. I want to try to trap a loving person in a relationship with me. It's just that loving people don't like to be manipulated. They can indulge people in poor behavior for a long time, but eventually they're not willing to keep indulging them anymore. And out of love for themselves and hope and faith and belief and love that this isn't just and fair, the more high vibrational people leave. And they weren't willing to temper their ego to do love. So more high vibrational people leave, and the same scenario could play out. They could have several just, fair, loving, encouraging people come in their life, and those people move on. And the people who are willing to keep staying more in a relationship with them might be other people who are kind of more on that same page or got their own shadowy nature of things to work through, right? So right now, I guess the way I would read this with the Wheel of Fortune coming up, people are thinking about what they want to invest in. Shadowy people are probably wondering, is there a loving person I can manipulate? And, or should I quit trying to manipulate more loving people? Maybe I should just go get in a relationship with someone who likes to live life the way I like to live it. And they maybe won't be as just or fair or tempered or loving as some of the other people that used to be in my life, but at least we're kind of motivated and inspired by the same things. High vibe people are working through the fact that there has been people in their life that they loved, that, things didn't work out. and dealing with the truth of it so they can let it go, because the truth sets us free, and high vibe Leo is about seeing the truth. Otherwise, you keep staying in your ego, wanting to stay in denial of the truth, not wanting to see where you needed to heal or grow and mature yourself, not wanting to see where other people needed to heal and grow and mature yourself. And you kind of keep doing the same thing over and over, wondering why it's not working out. Other people don't want to repeat that pattern. So, even though everybody could have mental conflict about moving away from certain people, the high vibe people are listening to their intuition. And if their intuition tells them that some of the people in their life are kind of shadowy, now they've learned to listen to their intuition, which your intuition was given to you as a gift. It's kind of the King of Pentacles holding that pentacle. This is a gift I can use. We as human beings, pride comes before the fall. In our more worldly, egoic nature, how many times did we take a job, get in a friendship, get in a relationship, go do things in our life that our kind of intuition was telling us, you shouldn't do that, you should leave, you should go home now. I don't think this is going to turn out the way you think. I don't think you're on the same page as this person. I don't think this person has your best interests. Blah, blah, blah. But, we as human beings, we think we're so smart. And for some of those situations, we were drawn and attracted to people. If it was a job, there could have been things about it that we thought, I don't know about this, but it was a job and we needed a job, or it paid better than some other job. But, we just didn't listen to our intuition. Well, some people keep doing that over and over in their life, and other people learned, you know what, my intuition was telling me I should not have done that, or I shouldn't have gotten involved in that. But in our worldly nature, which the King of Pentacles and the Devil can kind of represent, and our ego nature, and, we're all immature at different stages of life and have different lessons to learn, that we can get involved in some things. But the high vibe people have learned that lesson now. So now, that's how different it's going to be, how different people move forward in their Sagittarius energy. Everybody is going to move forward kind of at their stage of emotional maturity, right? You can't expect some people who haven't learned some life lessons to all of a sudden be making decisions like there's some 50-year-old who's emotionally mature and has all this life experience. Sadly, some people who are 50 years old, they'll really have the emotional maturity level of like a 21-year-old. So, it is relative, but everybody's going to kind of move forward in kind of their truth. The people who are operating more from ego or defensiveness or immaturity or self-indulgence or being deceptive or manipulative, more materialistic reasons, the Wheel of Fortune can kind of talk about that there will be natural consequences that come from certain decisions that people make. In the Nine of Swords of their Gemini energy, we go from the Eight of Swords, which is Gemini, to the Nine of Swords, which is Gemini. All again, Gemini is about air sign energy again, of the mind, free will. People are going to move forward with their truth. And, there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. So when they were sitting in the Eight of Swords, they had that Two of Swords, which is kind of a part of the Seven of Swords. In a typical Seven of Swords, they're holding the Five Swords, which is Aquarius energy of I have this dream. But in my Two of Swords Libra energy, what do I think is just and fair? Have I learned the lessons I've meant to learn? Am I still more manipulated by my ego and my fear or self-indulgent, immature nature? Well, if so, that's how they're going to move forward. They made the decision. Other people, everybody's got free will to decide what is my truth, how am I going to take action. Other people are going to take action having a little more hope and faith and belief in themselves, tempering their fears, tempering their insecurities, getting out of their ego, not being more self-indulgent, and the wheel will turn in accordance with those different decisions that we make in our life. And everybody is doing that, and people have been doing that. So I guess what this part is with all these cards not showing themselves is that maybe the bottom cards can kind of represent what we see. These cards could represent what people don't see, kind of like what's going on behind the scenes or in people's heads. So everybody wants to at least look like they're moving forward, and the fives can talk about change. I want to look like I've changed. I want to look like the Five of Pentacles can be that I've detached from this and that I have learned these lessons and I am ready to move forward in life differently. But for some people, that's just an illusion they're creating. That's like an idea that they had. I know. Let's do this and this to make it look like I've healed, grown, and matured myself, and that whatever it was that kind of manipulated me back here, whatever emotional maturity level or whatever way I was, that's not the truth of who I am anymore. But for some people, that's a lie because they didn't learn the lesson. They're still taking action more out of fear, insecurity, lust, greed, pride, ego, defensiveness, materialism, something. And they're going to just keep doing the same thing that they've been doing, thinking that's a good idea. Kind of like, oh, that job didn't work out. Shit, I got fired. Okay, let's go get a different job. But they don't want to see why that other job didn't work out. Just like when we're in friendships or relationships and it all goes to hell. You know, some people don't want to repeat that same pattern. So they did do the work to see, where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What about the people I was in a relationship with? Where did they need to heal and grow and mature? Was I not seeing the truth? I want to see the truth. And that's kind of what High Vibe King of Pentacles and the Strength card's about. I want to invest in the truth. I want to see the truth. I don't want to go another round of this. I really do emotionally, with this being a queen. The queens can talk about how we think and feel. If I got in a relationship with someone back here, or whatever it was, workplace, friendship, or otherwise, and I thought, we were both more stable, grounded, mature. I view the King of Pentacles like the devil is Capricorn energy, but to free ourselves from the devil, we have to be willing to temper our ego and learn lessons in life. And that's what the one pentacle can be. I learned the lesson I was meant to learn from that life experience. This is an opportunity for me to do things different, for me to make a different choice. Temper my ego. There's a part of me in my more egoic, living more from my mind than my heart, maybe not loving myself, not believing in myself, being more codependent. I could go do the same shit I did before. And I could get in a relationship with some people who have the same traits, characteristics, and ways of acting or behaving, just like some of the other people I've been in a relationship with. Or I could decide to do things different. I'm going to take the lesson I learned from that life experience, and I want to do things differently. I want to take that lesson with me, and then I view both the Queen of Pentacles and the Five of Pentacles as Taurus energy, and it's kind of like Taurus energy within ourself is kind of like the Supreme Court in our head. We debate these things within ourselves. We argue, no, I want to do this. No, I want to do that. Well, I should do this. I should do that. And, and whatever our philosophy of life is, based on like our truth and this debate we do within ourselves, is going to dictate how we move forward in life. The high vibe people were willing to learn the lesson they were meant to learn. I see where I could have been more codependent. I see where I could have indulged poor behavior in myself or others. I see where I could be been tempted more by the world or lust or something, I see the truth of it. And I also am willing to see the truth about some of the people in my life where they could have been maybe manipulative or wanting me more codependent, or they were codependent, or whatever it is. I'm going to deal with the truth of it. And the truth sets them free. They are going to add that truth now to their philosophy of life, of how they make decisions moving forward. And they don't have an interest in repeating that past pattern. If they get in a friendship or relationship and some of these similar things come up again, it's like, oh, yeah, no, I gotta go. I gotta leave because I know how this turns out. I don't like it. I don't think I think it's maybe selfish or toxic or something. Well, it's kind of like playing the video game of life, and if anybody back in the day played video games where you kind of do something at a certain level and you have to overcome these obstacles, once you kind of master that level, you get to go to the next level. Well, the devil's always going to be there. There's going to be new obstacles to overcome, new challenges. And we might go on that new journey and we fall back a level, right? But then we get back up and we go back to that next level to try to keep overcoming those obstacles, right? And then the devil can kind of represent our fears. Part of us can be tempted to want to keep moving forward the way we've been moving forward, not learning that lesson, keep investing in the same way of living life, philosophy of life, because we'd rather stay with the devil we know than face the devil we don't know. But, and we can all keep not wanting to see the truth, not wanting to speak the truth, not wanting to stand up for ourselves. And if we were to stand up for ourselves, and invest in our truth, well, then some other people might be stressed about investing in us or moving forward with us. And in the Five of Pentacles, we could go through a period of feeling left out in the cold. And that's why for a long time, even though something can be a little toxic, and the devil, in a regular Rider Waite deck, it looks just like the Lover's card, which is Gemini energy. But in the Lover's card, they have an angel there and the two people standing there. In the Devil card, they have the devil there and the people have chains and shackles on them. So it's kind of like some people that we could love, the reason more that we could have even been drawn and attracted to them could have been, certain stages of life that we were at. And kind of what we have in common is kind of these things of the world that we're kind of in Sagittarius energy about, kind of like what we're motivated and inspired by. That could have been why we got in relationships with some people. We were at these different stages of life. Oh, I became good friends with that person or was hanging out with those people when I was 18 to 21. We were 18 to 21. That's where we were at. And sometimes as we go through life, some of those people we don't stay in contact with. Sometimes we kind of are ready to move forward and kind of get out of a stage of life, even though at one time we were really attracted to want to go live our life that way and indulge in those things and make our life about those things, even if it was really being consumed maybe with our career or something, or even education. We have all these different phases of life that we go through. But in high vibe energy, it's kind of like it is. And again, Sagittarius is about going on this journey and learning these lessons, that all these different stages of life are all part of the journey of trying to bring this bigger overarching dream into reality, which hopefully is learning these lessons, tempering our ego, emotionally growing and maturing ourselves, seeing how our more worldly nature and other people in their more worldly nature can tempt us to keep living our life in ways where it's more about these things of the world and conforming to the world and our fear and our insecurities and our lust and our greed and codependency, and to kind of work through the mental conflict of it, to not let the world manipulate you so much that you kind of give up on your dreams, and hopefully be in friendships and relationships with other people who are willing to temper their ego and grow up and mature themselves and face their fears along with you, and that you're loving and encouraging to each other to keep helping each other overcome all those self-limiting beliefs, so we don't look to these other things in the world as being like the most important thing or the answer to our problems, you know? Love is the answer, truth is the answer. Believe in yourself. Don't let your mind manipulate you. Don't let your, we were given all these kind of gifts to work with: our emotional nature, our mental nature, our passionate, creative, inspired nature, our emotional nature. But we have to learn to work with them, or they can be all pretty powerful, right? Like, oh my god, but I love them, or things that we go indulge in that could make us feel better in the moment, but then it kind of drags our life into hell. So it's to kind of learn these lessons that high vibe energy is about balance. And I have all these aspects to me. They're all equally important, where before I maybe didn't, me and other people at different times in our life thought other parts weren't as important. Like some people could be like, I don't really want to get to know myself emotionally. I don't think I got to really invest in that. I think I can use my emotions more manipulatively, use them as I need them. I think these other things are more important. Other people could have really kind of grew up and matured themselves emotionally, but maybe they didn't invest so much in being able to, in themselves, in their own ability to, their own unique talent, skills, and interest, or their ability to provide stability or security for themselves. You know, because they maybe thought, oh, I don't think that one's that important. I don't think I really need to invest in that. And as time goes by, we can realize if we're not, we'll go on these journeys and realize how kind of being more balanced in all these energies is how beneficial it is, because there will be people who try to take advantage of us um, if we're kind of not more well balanced in them, and try to manipulate those aspects that we might think other people will provide in a way. So, our high vibe Aquarius energy is calling us to work through things that manipulate us. Keep offering yourself truth and love. Go through that period of feeling left out in the cold. Go through that period, which can talk about feeling in lack. Invest in yourself, believe in yourself, love yourself, because there's people in the world that maybe aren't investing in you right now because they think you'll give up and you'll come back in the Page of Cups and do it the way they want, because they don't want to do it the way you want. Your truth and your philosophy of life in high vibe would be: we face our fears, we temper our ego, we stay focused on the bigger picture, we look at life from a bigger picture. There is more to being on this planet than just being about you or making our life about these things of the world. And some people are like, I don't believe that. You can go. And I think maybe in the King of Pentacles, if 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 they think that just, well, you want this dream to come into reality in Aquarius energy. You have a dream you want to bring into reality. Some people could be kind of a little full of themselves and think, well, I'm not going to do it your way. And I think because you want this dream, and of course you think you need me in it to make that dream come into reality. I could try to use the want that you want that dream, and I'm not going to do it that way. I'm not willing to work with you in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way. I might like to be a little bossy, a little controlling, a little bit more about myself, a little more live from my mind than my heart, whatever. But as you move forward in your truth, and yes, you could be sad, you could be angry, you find it confusing, especially if you think that person has love for you. Why are they being so stubborn and prideful that they are not willing to compromise? You could imagine how God and the devil, which they kind of represent those energies at the big picture. Well, I think loving people were willing to compromise. They were being authentic, tempered their ego, and were willing to invest in people, and were, they were willing to detach from some of their ways of being and emotionally grow and mature themselves to work together towards this common goal. And the other people might have done so also, until it could have gotten to a certain something where then it's like, wait, all those other things I might have kind of been willing to do and compromise in a relationship. But then there's something that is something they might have a harder time. So let's go look at these. The Five of Cups. Okay, so the Five of Cups can talk about, we can get in friendships and relationships with people. We can be kind of loving and encouraging to each other. And it can help all of us work through some regrets of the past because we're being loving and encouraging and supportive people to each other. So that is something everybody might be willing to do. There's the Five of Cups can talk about that. I am sad and I was hurt and kind of stressed out and had to move on and kind of felt left out in the cold. That some people in my life weren't working with me cooperatively and moving forward. Cooperatively from love is what we could have felt. So everybody is kind of willing to go through that phase of the relationship. And that could have been one of the common reasons why we even went to go look for a different friend or a different relationship or a different job, right? And so that can kind of be an underlying truth about why we even initially got into something. And maybe nobody had really ill intent, but that still could have been more the driving factor, maybe more so than truth and love, right? I'm sad, you're sad, let's be friends. I'm looking for a new friend, you're looking for a new friend. But we might not really know each other well enough to know if we kind of have similar philosophies of life, but we're both looking to be in friendship or relationship with someone because some other relationship didn't work out. So then we move forward, and then we have the Six of Cups. So again, we've added one cup, and the Six of Cups can talk about, it's helped everybody kind of move on and detach from the past, because the Five of Pentacles moves on from the Four of Pentacles, which was this old foundation that we maybe didn't want to move away from, you know? And so it helps us kind of make peace with some of those issues from our past, and we could all feel more emotionally balanced within ourselves. So then we keep moving on, and we have the Two of Pentacles and the Four of Wands. So, now that we've worked through some of those issues, from the Five of Pentacles down to the Two of Pentacles, it's kind of like we've let go and we've kind of freed ourselves. The Three of Pentacles also is Capricorn energy. We've kind of freed ourselves from that old job, friendship, or relationship. And we're maybe no longer focused on that or working with those people. And then in the Four of Wands, we kind of feel inspired within ourselves again to move forward. We helped each other work through some issues together. We all could kind of feel more inspired within ourselves. Like we helped each other. We wouldn't keep staying maybe in friendship and relationship with each other if that isn't part of what's going on in the relationship. And then though we get there and everybody could kind of feel more balanced emotionally in their sense of in their worldly nature, feel just more balanced and maybe more stable and grounded within themselves, and kind of like they were able to pick up their investment, maybe even in some past vices or negative thinking or habits or patterns, because we got in friendship or relationship with other people and that wasn't taking place, right? So it just helped us kind of pick up our investment in it and probably feel more back to our old self. The Four of Wands is Aries energy, which is about the self. And in the Four of Wands, I kind of view it as kind of feel like you're firing on all four cylinders again. And so then, we are kind of ready to face our fears. It's just that once everybody has kind of helped each other get back up on their feet again, some people want to keep moving forward in the relationship. And then someone else might be like, I don't know if I do. That could have been such a focus of working through those things and working on that relationship, to not even knowing that part of the reason we could have gotten in that friendship and relationship or took that job was kind of to help us kind of work through those things. But then once we kind of do, then we might have some mental conflict, and at any stage in a relationship, we have to look at this might part of it all might have worked out okay and we overcame some hurdles. The fives and the sevens can be these difficult times in relationships that we have to work through. And we can go through many cycles with people, learning lessons and moving forward in life and kind of healing and growing and maturing ourselves. But at any point in time in the relationship, it can get to be, well, how do I want to move forward now? You could imagine, um, when you did know people age 15 to 18, 18 to 21, 21 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35, etc. Some of those things because of some maybe common things, and sometimes, again, because of these things we were wanting to manifest in the world and how we viewed life and what we were motivated and inspired by, and we could have had a lot of that in common. But then when it's kind of maybe just getting more, not so much about as inspired or motivated maybe by the world as much as just looking that there's more to it. And, that phase of life could take the first 50 years of our life. Because I think for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in the world. We are looking to get in our career field, we're wanting to go indulge in all these things, and we might want to get married, then we might want to have children. But then it's like, what about how do we expect to move forward after that? And and then people could have different opinions about what the next phase was supposed to look like, and even start to wonder if they want to keep moving forward the way what they've been in, how they've been, or if they look at life differently, or maybe they kind of got caught all up in the thing of the world and it was more for all these worldly reasons and they weren't really listening to their intuition. And then people could just even be angry that I feel like I got caught up in the machine of life. And I kind of feel like so much of my life maybe's passed by and I didn't, for some people it could seem like a midlife crisis. And for some people, they are going to really kind of regress and backtrack. because they could feel like they didn't get to go indulge in some things, and other people are like, I indulged enough, or even if I didn't indulge, I saw other people and how their life went, and I don't really feel like I missed anything. But at any time, the devil is there to tempt us. And again, we're going to have some people in our life that we are able to work through that together. But when we're ready to go to a next phase of life, and there's some people in our life who aren't being truthful, aren't being authentic, got ulterior purpose, are being kind of deceptive or manipulative, really aren't ready to go to that next level, I think they will be more tempted. We can all be tempted to speak our truth and to face our fears. But I think more likely, the more used to being indulged or thinking they have the right to be indulged or being more about themselves people, and of course, very strong people who are like, I'm not putting up with bullshit, you know, kind of the extremes of one way or the other are going to be the people who's like, if this isn't aligned with my truth, and if some people I feel like I've been putting all this work and effort to try to move this forward for these various reasons, and there kind of gets to be where, kind of like righteous anger that I'm done doing it. I might have gotten us through a phase of life. I might have, if I got married and had kids, we got the kids out of school, but I'm not going to keep doing it. I might have done that for keeping stability or security there in the family, or I might have put up with a lot of stuff at a job or in a friendship, or just where you feel it's kind of, it could have been great for a long time, but then over the last while, things seem to have changed and people seem to be not who they were. In either case, someone could get to be where I don't want to keep moving forward that way. And what could the difference be about? The Ten of Swords in reverse. So the 8, the 9, and the 10. If the 10 were in the upright, we would complete a cycle and we would keep moving forward with a dream, moving forward in truth and love. But again, it would require someone to become independent of something that manipulates them. That's how the other people want to move forward, and other people could have a problem with that, because then some cycle of something they are attracted to, which could just be still emotionally investing in their more worldly view of life. Again, high vibe energy is to be where, and a shadowy Taurus relationship that anybody can have, it's just a philosophy of life about relationships. A more shadowy one is that some people can think, male or female, based on how they were brought up or just in their own head, that they think if they have a certain status, image, look a certain way, they're right because they're a male or they're a female or whatever, that they should be kind of the more indulged person in the relationship, or that they should be able to operate more from their defensive egoic nature. And so they have more of a problem with tempering their ego to invest in being more authentic and more just and fair and loving, because that's kind of the devil. It's kind of like it's contrary to your belief system. They kind of view that being more authentic and just and fair and loving as contrary to their belief system. And that, probably the only thing that could come from it is that they could get manipulated or get hurt because they have a lack of faith in love, or lack of faith that if it didn't work out the way they wanted, maybe they wouldn't be able to pick themselves up again. So they like to keep this a more emotionally distance of living more from their mind than their heart. Like, I will invest in you, but I invest kind of in a more worldly way. I will invest in you some emotionally. I will have sex with you. I will work together with you. But to really face my fear about having hope and faith and belief and love, they've been juggling the truth. And for some people, they juggle the truth that they're kind of more about themselves. And they don't want to be in a more just and fair and balanced relationship or love relationship, because they could love themselves. That's what they're invested in, is themselves. They've in a mental prison about letting their more authentic loving nature out to play. And so they indulge their more immature, egoic, self-protective, defensive nature. And that's who kind of runs their life. And if they get in relationships with people and other people work through their fears and insecurities and or self-limiting beliefs or past pain and heartbreak or things that manipulate them, and they're ready to move forward differently, they can become upset because you worked through something that manipulates them and you freed yourself. You kind of really are who you say you are. And they like to think of themselves as harnessing these energies in a high vibe way, that they're this emotionally mature, stable, grounded, maybe loving person, and that people should want to be in a relationship with them. And in a lot of ways, they can be very stable, grounded, kind of loving people in a relationship. But they could try to use whatever those things are that they bring to the relationship, or they think they bring, kind of in a more manipulative way, because they kind of have this idea of how they want to move forward in a relationship, and it's maybe not being more just and fair or being more authentic and loving or coming out from behind their defensive egoic nature or facing their fears. And they didn't think they were ever going to have to do that, and they got in relationships with people who kind of, it got to that place where they kind of had to confront those issues, and it could have made them mad that, why do we even have to get here? Why couldn't we just do things the way we've been doing it? I could like you, you could like me, we have these things of the world, it looks great, let's keep doing it. But the other people are like, but I've healed and grown and changed or something in some way, that there's some things about this that, just like I see within myself that I had ways of thinking or believing or past pain and heartbreak or fears or insecurities that I had carried with me. And I kind of did the work within myself to work through those things and come to a place of peace about it, to let those things go and pick up my investment in it. So I am kind of not the same person I was before. And so now the way I look at life and view life is different. And then they can be mad. Well, you shouldn't have done that. And that kind of reminds me of the Barbie movie that came out like in the last 2 years, where they wanted her to get back in the box. And she's like, oh, I remember what it was like to be in the box. It's hard when you look at life differently than you did. If in the past you were more codependent, and now you see the truth of how you're more codependent, and that could be because you really hadn't learned to love yourself, and maybe so then you were always looking to get in friendship or relationship with other people for them to like love you and make you feel more balanced within yourself. Well, if you do that work within yourself and realize, I've gotten in some hurtful, toxic relationships because I'm more codependent, I need to learn to invest in loving myself, or I'm going to have that aspect about me that makes me get in relationships with people. If I don't want to be in those kind of relationships, it's not to find people and just try to find people who won't take advantage of that aspect. How about I grow and mature that aspect of me so I'm less codependent? I invest in working through some of that past pain and heartbreak. I give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me I get more balanced and inspired within myself and work through some of these issues so that I don't have those issues about me that would get me, that could have been some of the factors that manipulated me to get in certain type of relationships in the past. And so as you're moving forward, the devil is upset, and all the people who would maybe want to be in a friendship or relationship with you, but only if you were still in this more shadowy kind of energy or a more worldly focused reason. Like, I want to be in a relationship. Don't you want to be in a relationship? Let's get in a relationship. It's like, I don't want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship. If you just want to be in a relationship with someone, you should go get in a relationship with someone else. Oh, don't you feel left out in the cold? I feel left out in the cold. We should get in a relationship. It's like, I don't want to get in a relationship just because I might be going through a period of feeling left out in the cold. That's not a good enough reason to get in a relationship. Or I'm attracted to you. I want to have sex. It's like, yeah, you could go be attracted to someone else and go have sex with that person. You know, if I'm going to get in a more involved relationship, I want it to be because of truth and love. Other people stay in the friend zone. And so then some of the people who are in the friend zone could be frustrated because they have this way of living life and viewing relationships, and they think are good reasons to get in a relationship, and they don't understand why you won't get in a relationship with them for those reasons, or if you were in a relationship with them, why you wouldn't stay in a relationship more for these reasons of the world, because those reasons of the world are more what manipulate them to get in and stay in relationships. It's like, well, then you should do that. And I think you will find other people in the world who are willing to get in relationships with you for those reasons. And some of those people went and did that. Some of those people are moving forward in those relationships right now. It's just that they also could have thought, oh, I'll be able to move forward in life differently. Again, like, I don't have to change. I don't have to grow or heal or mature myself. That last job, friendship, or relationship didn't work out. I'll just go get another one. But they're the same person. And if they are kind of bossy or controlling or kind of full of themselves or manipulative or immature or still like to live more from their mind than their heart and still haven't worked through their regrets of the past and haven't made peace with some issues in their life and they still haven't, become more independent. It's like someone who always tries to create the illusion they're willing to bring a dream into reality, but they can't bring the dream into reality that people could be looking for, because generally other people, when they get in a relationship, at least 50% of the people, they want it to be a more authentic, loving, just, fair relationship, and they're not willing to do that, and it keeps happening over and over, and then they can be mad. Another one bit the dust and another one left. And just like people who aren't shadowy can get relationships, and someone becomes more shadowy or is more immature. But again, they could have been that way since we got in the relationship. We just didn't want to see the truth of it. And so we tried to make something work when our intuition was trying to tell us they're not on the same page as you in their Gemini energy of free will. They're not really as motivated by truth and love and justice and fairness like you are. They're kind of a little bit more about themselves or the world or manipulating people or living more from their mind than their heart, but you didn't want to see the truth, so you got in a relationship with them. And, if you don't want to be in that kind of relationship, don't get in it anymore. Well, then we can kind of be frustrated because it's like, come on, God, where are the people who are more on the same page as me? It's like, well, temper your ego. Don't take action thinking you're so smart. Don't try to change people. You walk your truth. And you won't be putting yourself in situations that you shouldn't be in. And you'll be investing in yourself and your friends, your family, your career, enjoying your life in moderation and staying focused on the big picture. And there's going to be other people who see you doing that. Some people will be like, no, I'm going to go get in a relationship with this person over here because I think they'll indulge me in my immature ways and I don't think you will. It's like, good riddance. Other people are like, no, I'm not going to invest in you because I like to manipulate and control people and I'm full of myself. It's like, good riddance. Oh, no, I'm not going to invest in you because I'd have to become more independent of some things. Okay, good riddance. You know, it's like things and people in the world keep trying to tempt you in your more worldly nature, and you keep just living your truth, willing to get to know people, but not willing to compromise your truth. People have to be just and fair. I'm not going to get in a relationship with you and get in a more involved relationship with you, more out of lust or greed or these other reasons. I'm willing to get to know you. And if, as I get to know you, my intuition tells me that you're not more shadowy and deceptive, you're just someone in the world who kind of challenges me. Because I think there's a part of us that we'd almost rather be in a relationship with someone who has their issues because they have to change. That's us kind of being in a shadowy, egoic nature. Oh, I know they were a shithead. Oh, I know they went and did that again. I know they acted like this. I know. And it's us kind of building a false sense of ego off of them, and it will hurt us in the long run. But to be in a relationship with someone who is like, no, I'm kind of on the same page as you, and you are on the same page as them, and everybody is going to have to face their fears, and everybody's going to have to be willing to change, and it won't be repeating some of these poor past patterns, and listening to your intuition and not repeating some poor past patterns. It's kind of like people can get in relationships with people and then it's like, oh, I know, and they did this and that's why I left, blah blah blah. Well, then you could get in a relationship and then you're the one who repeats some poor past patterns, because you're in a relationship with someone who keeps challenging you, in addition to you challenging them to keep growing and healing and maturing yourself. And sometimes I'd rather get in a relationship with someone who might have some issues because then it's only going to be them who's going to be fucking up and not me. So, um, you might meet your match, is what I'm saying, basically, as you move forward. Someone who really, it does challenge you to face your own fears and might make you almost like, shit, maybe I should go back to whatever I was doing. And it's like, uh, it could be someone who really challenges you to believe in yourself, just like you could have some people in your life and they could kind of view your way of living life as like, you kind of challenge my belief system. And you're like, I know, but I think you can do it. Let's do it. So, um, I'll have to look up in a book. I know the devil, the way I kind of view it is like when it challenges someone's belief system, it's like they're the devil. So people who aren't more independent, people who don't look at life from a higher perspective, people who aren't more just and fair can view someone like that as like the devil because you challenge my philosophy of life. So maybe in that way, in a good way, the devil can be someone who challenges someone, but in a good way. I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm not trying to control you. I'm not trying to restrict you or imprison you or oppress you. But that in itself is kind of scary because we do have to temper our fears and insecurities to move forward in that way. Okay, what's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy? So I guess it's to really think about who are the people in your life who, regardless with anybody in our life, and depending at different ages and stages of life, we could have known people. that sometimes we didn't get along, sometimes we weren't in friendship or relationship, sometimes people picked up their investment in each other and kind of went their own ways. But who are the people who, you know, we don't feel really were trying to manipulate and control us, who really were trying to encourage us to love and believe in ourselves, and who does try to manipulate and control us and we think is being deceptive and manipulative? Interesting. I have too many decks, two small mini decks together. So we have two Queen of Wands is what you don't see coming out ahead. Why? Because of the King of Swords. So the King of Swords I view as Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. High vibe people who do this work within themselves, for one, they get balance within themselves, within their more worldly egoic nature and their more hopeful believing nature. But their more hopeful believing loving nature is what who is in the driver's seat of their life, and their more immature shadowy nature has to sit in the back seat, because you want justice in your life and you know it starts within you. The only person we can change is ourselves. If I want to be in more just and fair and authentic and loving and inspiring relationships, I need to align with that energy within myself. I need to get myself balanced. I need to work through my fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs. And I view high vibe Queen of Wands in Leo energy is I am going to give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me. I'm going to be loving and encouraging, treat myself in a just and fair and loving way, because that is just and fair. I don't control anyone else in the world. The rest of the world might be harsh and critical and unkind and unjust. But within me, I can treat myself in a just and fair and loving and compassionate way, but I have to deal with truth. And I need to see where I need to heal and grow and mature myself and temper my ego and all that good stuff. And I do that. And then I am a just and fair and loving, like my own best mother, father, coach voice in my own head. And I think, you know, seeing who are the people who are trying to manipulate you, don't want to move forward with you, this isn't their truth, are more hurtful or unkind or unjust. As you move forward in this way, anybody in your life who is deceptive and manipulative and tried to backstab you or stop you from loving and believing in yourself, it didn't work. You have come out the other side like stronger and more powerful than you were before. And that could be some people's worst nightmare. The devil can mean that you look, and the Queen of Wands, that you look very victorious and successful in some way in the world, shining very brightly, and that you have justice, and that other people would view you as someone who has gotten justice in the world. And other people can be drawn and attracted to being in relationships with people who seem to be very balanced, very confident within themselves. If you're very just and fair and loving and nurturing, needless, other people are going to be attracted to you. And somehow you seem to look like, that if people were to get in a friendship or relationship with you, that they would also get justice because you seem to have justice, right? So for some people, they're really stressed out because maybe when they had an opportunity to work together with you and not backstab you and work through their fears or insecurities or ego or whatever to work with you, they didn't. And they could have repeated some poor past patterns. And instead of investing in you, they invested in not a more high vibrational philosophy of life, because they thought making it more about them or these things of the world was going to make them happy, and they met the devil. That's the thing. When we go down the wrong path, it's kind of like you could go this way. And I mean, again, you never know when it might turn bad. But if from the beginning You should have seen that's not going to be a good decision, but our judgment can be clouded because of our fear and our insecurity and our defensiveness and our immaturity and our ego and all of that. And eventually it becomes clear that we went down the wrong path. Well, then are we willing to humble ourselves to admit, oops, I went down the wrong path? You have to be willing to humble yourself to learn lessons in life. And the people who do see the truth, oh, I went down the wrong path. I had some healing and growing and maturing to do and work through some issues. Some of the people I got in relationship with maybe did. And I don't want to do that again. So I don't want to keep sabotaging myself because of my ego. So I'm going to pick up my investment in some of those ways of doing life and people. And I'm going to face my fears and I'm going to move forward. And I'm going to, probably illuminate and communicate my truth to people about the lessons I learned. Initially, can there be shame? That's kind of the Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Swords and the Five of Cups in regret and kind of feeling a little out in the cold because, we kind of drove our life off into the ditch some. Sure, initially that's there. That's kind of part of the process, you know. But then there's going to be people who could try to come in to try to take advantage of you in that state. And then there can be people who, for some people, even if they did come in trying to take advantage of people when they were in not such a good state in their life, sometimes it doesn't matter what other people's intentions are. If someone is presenting themselves as a more stable, grounded, emotionally mature, loving person than they really are, that can be an environment that's much better than what other people were in. And it helps them kind of get back up on their feet again. And then those people maybe want to keep moving forward with them. And then the other people are like, damn, you were supposed to stay in that sad state or that fearful state or that rejected state. I wanted to more manipulate you. Didn't you not see it? And it's like, no, I didn't see it till just now. But now that I see it, I'm leaving. You know? And so even if some people have ill intentions, that's where kind of it was actually a Bible verse is kind of revamping it a little bit, but there's a Bible verse that says God will use all good things for his purposes. But the same is true for us. We can use all things that do happen to us can be used for our good purposes if we are willing to learn the lesson and see the truth of it and take the lesson we learned from it to not repeat that again. And so then we can go through those things, we learn the lesson, we get out of the shame, we communicate our truth to people, and then we can be grateful that the experience happened because it transformed our whole life. And we maybe wouldn't be the people that we are today. Everybody's on their own journey. Not everybody has to take the hard path, but some of us do at different times. And some people right now who could have seemed like they had a pretty good path, but they still had some lessons learned that they didn't learn. So they're maybe going to go down a path that's going to kind of drag their life down into hell, which maybe would have been something they never thought would happen because, again, pride comes before the fall. So um, I think you'll be having some people who you're going to have people in your life you're going to stand up and defend, and people in your life who are standing up and defending you because you aligned with truth and love and justice and fairness, and the devil is mad, and the people in the world who didn't want you to get that are going to be mad, and the people in your life who thought you couldn't have that unless you invested in them are going to be mad. And the people who thought you'd come back and get in a relationship with them are going to be mad because they're maybe going to have to move forward with the devil they invested in, which could be someone who, is kind of like The people who wanted other people to be more codependent will probably get in a more codependent relationship. The other people who wanted to be more bossy and controlling of other people will probably get in a relationship with someone who's more bossy and controlling. If they wanted people to stay in a relationship with them more for money, ego, status, image, they'll probably end up staying in a relationship more for ego, image, status, even though they might not want to be in it. High vibe people saw the truth, tempered their ego, and are taking action in truth and love and treating other people the way they like to be treated, so they don't kind of have that wheel of fortune karmic consequence. What's coming up maybe for the shadowy people they don't see coming has to do with this card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Knight of Swords, which is Gemini energy about our free will. That's something the devil doesn't like, right? If the devil maybe had their way, and there's some people in the world that are like that, they don't like that other people listen to their intuition, and they can't stop them from listening to their intuition, which is like their higher self of adhering to a higher truth and justice in the world than justifying in thinking it's just more about us and we can do what we want and there is no higher truth and justice, and indulge yourself and be selfish, be prideful, just don't let people know, kind of be deceptive and manipulative, you can get away with it. So they're upset that other people in their Gemini energy harness it differently. And there's always going to be more high vibrational people in their life that have been trying to work with them to move something forward. But they keep repeating this old pattern. Nope, that's not my truth. Nope, I don't want to look at life from a higher perspective. No, I don't want to put things in perspective. Nope, I want to keep doing this. And eventually some of the people in their life are like, accept the truth of it. I see you want to keep doing that. I've been trying to move it forward. No more in denial. You go do that, and I'm going to go do this. And they could keep trying to manipulate people, be defensive to people, tell people, no, 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 you should align with me. No, 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 you should invest in me. And for a long time, people can invest in them and align with them and view them as someone worthy of following their example. But eventually people kind of see through the illusion that they're not being truthful and honest, or they're more about themselves or how it benefits them. They're not telling the truth. They're not being authentic. And what they don't see coming is some high vibe people in their life are going to see the truth, and they're not going to be in their life anymore. Ten of Cups, some people that they could have thought were going to be in their life long term. Whether that's friends or family members, people they did want to marry or did marry, because those people are more aligned with high vibe, Gemini, and Pisces. I have hope and faith and belief in love. And they've been thinking these people were those kind of people, but eventually they kind of see the truth. You're not. You can be, work together with people, but it's kind of more your way, or it's controlling, or it's imprisoning, or it's confining or restricting. It's like we can't give birth to anything new because you have this way that you want to go about it and do it, and you're unwilling to work together with people more, to face your fears and step out of your comfort zone and have a little hope and faith and belief in yourself and others and in love. So your defensiveness makes you keep repeating some of these old patterns, and that might make them happy, but other people didn't expect that. Again, you think you're going to get in a friendship or relationship and you're going to work together, and everybody's kind of willing to compromise on some things to move forward and create this new thing. And the other people create the illusion they're willing to do that, but just kidding. I really want to do it this way. And yeah, I'm not doing that. No, it has to be this way. And they kind of hope because the other people maybe love them that they'll keep indulging them. And eventually people are like, I'm not going to keep indulging you. If you are not willing to change or see where you could benefit from working through some of your fears or your insecurities or things from your past or your defensive nature or your ego nature or whatever it is you indulge in to make yourself feel better, then I'm going to let you do that. But you're going to do it with someone else because I'm leaving. And if these people also, by worldly standards, these people could look very victorious and successful in a lot of ways, or attractive or charming, there's going to be other people who want to be in a relationship with them. It's just that when they're unwilling to compromise with people in their life who are more just and fair and loving and encouraging, they missed an opportunity out of their pride and ego or stubborn nature or whatever, or immature nature, to have a dream come into reality. And the people who are more going to be willing to keep staying in a relationship or friendship or at that job are other people who want to be in it for their own reasons, who are probably being deceptive and manipulative. I don't want to have to grow up and mature myself either. I don't want to temper my ego either. I don't want to be more just and fair. I don't want to do love. Let's be in a relationship. And it could be a relationship, again, then where people move forward in it, but it's more for these other reasons. And other people can kind of see the truth when you see different people out in the world. It's like, yeah, I kind of think those people are more, and not like it matters what other people think. The high vibe people don't care what other people think, they know their truth. But it also is kind of obvious that their truth is that they're in more just and fair and balanced and loving relationships. But the people who are more about their ego and their image and their status, that could really bother them because they want to look like they're in those type of relationships, but that's not going to be what it is because both people would have to be in that energy, and they're not willing to be in that energy. So some of the people, not everyone, but some of the people who are, some people they kind of more align themselves with, other people can tell, yeah, I don't think this is really based on truth and love and inspired by love. I think this might be a little bit more for some of these other reasons. And feeling like they're maybe more competitive or defensive or jealous or full of themselves. And other people are like, yeah, I think we can see the difference here between different people and why they get in the relationships that they get in and why they stay in them and why they didn't stay in other ones. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.